Welcome to another Amazing Stories Unwrapped. I've been thinking a lot lately about taking risk. I'm about to embark on a venture. I call it an adventure with lots of risk. The odds, I don't want the odds though to keep me from doing what I'm meant to do. It was Jimmy Carter who said, you got to go out on a limb because that's where the fruit is. Risk-taking is inherently subject to failure. That's why they don't take it a sure thing taking. Don't call it that. I like what W.C. Fields said. He said, dead fish swim downstream. It takes a strong live fish to swim upstream. So I'm going to go for it. I think the reward is worth the risk. How about you? Do you have some opportunity that's really great, but it involves, well, a scary risk? Well, let me encourage you with a story from Hollywood. I call it the film no one wanted to make. The Walnut Rancher's kid always dreamed of doing something big. He dreamed of being a star athlete, but he was too slow, he was too small. He aspired to be a race car driver, but he had a bad accident. He dreamed of being a writer of fantasies, but he never seemed to get around to doing that. His biggest dream was way more far-fetched than that. He wanted to take those old, cheesy Flash Gordon B movies from the 30s and the 40s with all of their cheesy special effects. He wanted to turn them into sizzling epics for future moviegoers. Now, he did go to film school, learned to direct some small indie films, made a few waves with an experimental film called TX 1138, but it was too distant, it was too dystopian, too cold view of the future. And so he tried to buy the rights from these Flash Gordon movies, but he couldn't swing the deal. Then he wrote his own script, a sci-fi spectacular with all the cheesiness of Flash Gordon movies, with new special effects from Hollywood. But when he shopped the idea, studios turned him down. United Artists said no. So did Universal. So did Disney. Meantime, he did hit pay dirt with a little movie that became a mega hit. His American Graffiti even earned an Oscar nomination in 1974. Fox was finally willing to take a chance on his goofy space saga. Only, though, if he agreed to film a sequel to American Graffiti. They were so sure that the sci-fi film that he wanted to do would go belly up that they only invested a paltry amount. He agreed to take no salary as long as he got the lion's share of the profits and exclusive rights to all of the sequels and all of the toys that he believed that his sci-fi movie would spawn. When he went to North Africa to film his project, the Fox heads figured that the money he made on the sequel to American Graffiti would more than pay for what they were sure would be big losses on his movie about a civil war in a faraway galaxy. We never know what happened to the studio heads that took a pass on Star Wars, but George Lucas got the best deal in Hollywood history. Fox's short-sightedness allowed Lucas to independently make his Empire Strikes Back Again and The Return of the Jedi, the two biggest movies that were never financed by a studio system. Even Lucas couldn't guess how many millions he would gross just off the toys from his Star Wars movies alone. And the profit he would make on his new studio, Lucasfilms. And the irony is that Walt Disney, who said no to making that first film, bought Lucasfilm in 2012 for $4.6 million. What about that sequel that Fox said couldn't miss, the sequel to American Graffiti, well, opened in 1979 to a tepid $15 million. The Empire Strikes Back made nearly $600 million worldwide the next year. The amazing story of George Lucas inspires us not to give up, even in the face of naysayers. Warns us even to be careful about not taking a chance on somebody else's dream. Sticking with the safe thing is always one of the dumbest things you'll ever do. Playing it safe in a changing world is the riskiest thing you can ever do. The writer of the book of Ecclesiastes put it this way: farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. They who watch every cloud never bring in a crop. So I want to talk to you just a little bit about risk tonight. Risk, the kind of risk that George Lucas took when he made his Star Wars movies, the kind of risks that all the great people have taken that have ever done anything significant. I want to just say these things about risk. As one who's about to take a risk on a major venture, a movement that I want to start, that'll take the older generation, the 65 million grandparents in America, and connect them to Gen Z, to the millennial generation, the next generations, to pass on their heritage, their faith to the younger generation, which is rapidly moving toward difficult times. That's my venture. And it'll change everything about my life. I don't want to retire. I don't want to get in a rocking chair. I don't want to just write books. I want to have a movement that'll change the world. It's a high-risk deal. A lot of people think I'm crazy. But craziness is the stuff of which great ventures are made. Naysayers abound. So here are the things I want you to know. Number one, risk and reward are always commensurate. The more the reward, the more the risk. It's just a rule of the stock market. It's a rule of life. Risk, reward. If you want a great reward, you're always going to have to take great risk. Little risk never gives big reward. The second thing I want you to understand is that there's a difference between risk and rash. I'm not calling you to do rash things. I'm calling you to do risky things. Things that you've prayed about, you've talked to God about, that you know He wants you to do. And so what I always do before I start anything is I spend time in fasting. I spend time praying. I spend time walking, meditating. Is this the right thing? The other thing I do is I talk to people who I can bounce my ideas off of. Now, very important here that you understand what I'm saying here. There are some people you should never talk to. Don't talk to people that are non-risk takers. Don't talk to people who always to tell you the reason why things don't work. I have a few close friends who will always give me sage advice, but these are people who understand the concept of risk-reward. So I hope you have some people in your life that you can trust, that if you're about to do something and you think, boy, this is a risky deal, talk to these people. They'll be glad to help you. Then, of course, talk to the Lord. Risk-reward. And then every great dream has a timing to it. I mean, George Lucas worked for years with his dream before the timing hit just right. So don't give up on your dreams. Even that in itself is a risk, because it hurts day in and day out with each obstacle that comes along, with each naysayer that says won't work, with each year that passes. Some of you have been waiting for a few years for this dream to take place. Don't give up. Remember this, every great dream has its timing. So tonight, I want to challenge you. Take a risk. Start with small things, small risk. Then take some bigger risk. But take a risk. Like George Lucas, you never know. You just never know when great things can happen. Well, God bless. I'll see you Thursday at 12:50 East Coast time in the United States. God bless.